It's called the China Study by Dr. Colin Campbell, and he was asked to go to the Philippines because children were dying of liver cancer between 8 and 10 years of age. Liver cancer, now this is something that only usually gets in adults, and at that, alcoholics. And he found the common denominator was peanut butter.
Certain ordinary practices prescribed by doctors may not really be all that they're made out to be. And this is what health expert Barbara O'Neill has recently claimed. What could possibly be more evident than these? These are startlingly usual practices that make us wonder whether they might not even save us from death. It's worth your while to listen in on this. Are you ready for a surprise? Are you even aware that some of your daily activities can contribute to gradual bodily destruction? Let's examine them closely so that we can show some of their hidden perils. Doctors aren't always right. Although most of us tend to have faith in doctors and mainstream medical recommendations, Barbara O'Neill argues that sometimes the suggestions they provide could lead to unfavorable long-term effects. Even when following their advice, we may harm ourselves without even realizing it. What if taking something every day is causing your slow death? It's time to reconsider.
Meat, when eaten, is typically lean and in small amounts, reducing the intake of unhealthy fats and processed foods that can lead to chronic diseases.
Moderation is emphasized by most physicians, no matter if you are looking at processed food. In contrast, Barbara O'Neill alludes to some of these preservatives and artificial substances being harmful for a long time. These items are composed of manufactured substances that can harm body parts or lead to a number of serious ailments. Deep inside those processed snacks you have come to love so much is something that could injure not only your liver, but also affect your heart or even brain. Though they may be convenient, regularly consuming processed foods can turn into a risk.
Have a look at them. Refined sugar. Well, this brain cell consumes 15 times the glucose of any other cell. Well, wouldn't sugar be good for the brain cell? Well, when sugar goes in, blood glucose levels rise dramatically. Brain function is overloaded. So very quickly, insulin's released. Get that blood glucose level down. And now it goes too low.
You know what? Sugar is the most addictive thing on earth. Barbara O'Neill mentions that multiple physicians tend to underestimate the amount of harm inflicted by sugars. You will find it in nearly all kinds of packaged food items available at any shop, little by little. Sugars create inflammation, interference with natural immunity develops, and eventually severe disorders such as diabetes, heart diseases, etc. follow through.
Initially, they also need to eliminate all your healthy sugars, like your palm sugar, your maple syrup and honey. So they need to be stopped until the pancreas is starting to recover.
The more sugar one eats, the more their body wants it. This means that this is a continuous process happening consistently in our lives while adversely affecting our health instantly. And this is important because sugar is actually more addictive than some illicit substances, but still widely available. This deep-rooted problem cannot be overlooked by any means. She talks a lot about how dangerous dependence on drugs can be, particularly the use of non-prescription painkillers like ibuprofen. Although doctors support their usage in alleviating pains, taking them for an extended period could lead to grave consequences like liver, kidney, and digestion problems. Forever and ever repeating these drugs can lead to internal damages that patients aren't informed about. Instead of taking drugs for the very first sign of any discomfort, other safer alternatives may be considered.
The herbs come along and say, where would you like me? What would you like me to do? Medicine calls it synergism, working with the needs of the body. Whereas drugs come along and say, get out of my way, I've got a job to do, whether you need it or not. Drugs are like robots. I must do, whether you need it or not.
Prescription drugs are essential for certain health conditions. But Barbara O'Neill warns that many people are overprescribed medications they may not even need. Long-term use can result in dependency and create more problems than it solves. Many of these drugs merely mask symptoms instead of addressing the root causes of health issues. Doctors are quick to prescribe pills for quick relief, but the consequences may be long-lasting.
She says drugs never cure disease. They just change the form and location. The body and the body alone is the effective healer. And if left to herself, how much better could she perform her work? But that privilege is rarely granted it.
Antibiotics are life-saving when used correctly, but Barbara O'Neill emphasizes the dangers of overusing them. Many doctors prescribe antibiotics even for minor ailments, which can destroy your gut flora and weaken your immune system. Over time, this leads to antibiotic resistance, a growing global health crisis. Every time you take antibiotics unnecessarily, you increase the chances that they won't work when you truly need them. Antibiotics should be used sparingly and only when absolutely necessary.
Now, 100 years ago, the only two vegetable oils used were olive and coconut, because they're the only oils that are extracted from the flesh of the plant. And because they're extracted from the flesh of the plant, they could be easily extracted by women in their kitchens. And everyone used to get their polyunsaturated fats from just eating the nuts and the seeds.
We've been taught that margarine and vegetable oils are healthier than butter, but O'Neill argues that this couldn't be further from the truth. These products are loaded with trans fats, which increase bad cholesterol levels, clog arteries, and can contribute to inflammation and heart disease. Choosing natural fats like olive oil or butter is a much better option for your overall health. Trans fats have no place in a healthy diet, no matter what the packaging says. Fluoride is something most of us encounter daily through toothpaste and drinking water. But Barbara O'Neill raises concerns that too much fluoride exposure can lead to problems like weakened bones and thyroid dysfunction. Some studies have even linked excessive fluoride intake to brain damage over the long term. While fluoride has benefits in preventing cavities, O'Neill advises caution about overexposure.
When you wear sunscreens, it blocks UVB rays. UVB rays, when they hit the skin, they convert a form of cholesterol just under the skin to vitamin D. And vitamin D is an essential for the assimilation of calcium. Calcium is called the king. And the reason calcium's called the king is because when calcium gets into the body, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium.
Most of us apply sunscreen to protect our skin from harmful UV rays, but not all sunscreens are created equal. O'Neill warns that chemical-based sunscreens can be absorbed into the bloodstream. Mineral sunscreens, like those with zinc oxide, provide safer sun protection.
It's a glass of cow's milk. It's high in protein and high in calcium. But this protein, this animal protein, is very dirty burning fuel. Only 58% is burnt as fuel. So what that does is it leaves a 42% waste. That is a sulfur waste. It's very acid. And do you remember what the body uses to negate acidity? Calcium. So the calcium from that glass of cow's milk is used to negate that acid residue.
Milk does a body good, or does it? Barbara O'Neill argues that consuming too much dairy, particularly from cows raised in industrial farms, may contribute to inflammation and hormone imbalances in the body. For people with lactose intolerance, dairy can cause digestive issues and discomfort. Consider alternative milk sources like almond or oat milk, which offer the same nutrients without the potential risks.
Are you conscious about your health? Do you see sugar-free products as a safe bet? Do you rely on them? Well, at least this is what food brands would want you to believe, that they are safe bets. While they promise no sugar in their products, there is a silent killer working to satisfy your palate. Aerated drinks, ice creams, yogurts, even the most ordinary chewing gum, they are full of artificial sweeteners which can cause strokes, blood clots, and believe it or not, can also result in deaths.
You might think artificial sweeteners are a healthy substitute for sugar, but Barbara O'Neill warns that they come with their own risks. Some studies suggest that artificial sweeteners, like aspartame, may contribute to metabolic disorders, affect gut bacteria, and even cause neurological issues. Just because it's sugar-free doesn't mean it's harmless. These sweeteners can disrupt your body's ability to process real sugar. Stick to natural sweeteners like honey or stevia for a safer alternative.
Genetically modified foods create molecules that the body doesn't know. Genetically modified foods have the ability to tamper with your DNA. Genetically modified foods cause cancer.
Genetically modified organisms, GMOs, are everywhere in our food supply, but their long-term health effects are still not fully understood. Barbara O'Neill suggests that GMOs might contribute to health problems like inflammation and digestive issues, although mainstream science views them as safe. We don't yet fully understand the long-term implications of consuming genetically modified foods. While the jury is still out on GMOs, O'Neill encourages people to opt for organic foods whenever possible.
In the last part of the colon, you see there's a loop there, and that loop is held up by a little muscle called puborectalis. When you're sitting on the throne, puborectalis remains taut. Things, of course, still come out. But if you sit on the throne and in front of the throne there's a stool, and your body now takes the squatting position with the knees in the air, then puborectalis opens. And when puborectalis relaxes and opens, the whole colon basically stretches out so that the contents can be passed with much greater ease.
We live in a society that spends too much time sitting, whether at work, at home, or in our cars. Barbara O'Neill calls excessive sitting the new smoking because it significantly increases your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even premature death. Moving every hour is essential to reducing the risk of health problems linked to a sedentary lifestyle. Make time for regular movement and stretching to avoid these risks. Fast food, more than just empty calories. Fast food isn't just bad for your waistline, it's bad for your health. Barbara O'Neill explains that fast food is full of artificial ingredients, harmful fats, and chemicals that contribute to long-term health problems. These meals may be quick and easy, but they come at a cost. Opting for home-cooked meals ensures you know exactly what's going into your body. Household chemicals, hidden health hazards. You may not realize that some of the most harmful things in your life are in your cleaning supplies, air fresheners, and cosmetics. O'Neill points out that exposure to these chemicals over time can lead to respiratory issues, allergies, and even hormonal disruption. Be cautious of what you use in your home. Many common products contain ingredients that accumulate in the body over time. Switching to eco-friendly, natural products can greatly reduce your risk. Sleep deprivation, an overlooked risk. Don't sacrifice sleep for productivity. Lack of rest impacts your cognitive abilities, immune function, and overall well-being. Doctors often emphasize the importance of sleep, but in our fast-paced world, it's easy to ignore. Make sleep a priority. It's one of the most effective ways to improve your health.
It can give you the works, and ultimately, if you have those hand sanitizers listed on the FDA website or listed below that have been pulled off the shelves, they're actually recommending it's so toxic that you do not put it in your normal garbage or flush it down the drain, but that you actually get it to a hazardous waste facility so they can take care of it safely and it doesn't get into anybody else's drinking water or anything to that effect.
Hand sanitizers became a must-have during the pandemic, but Barbara O'Neill warns that overuse can be harmful. Many sanitizers contain alcohol and chemicals that can dry out your skin, destroy beneficial bacteria, and weaken your immune system in the long run. While effective against germs, overusing sanitizers can disrupt your skin's natural defenses. Use sanitizers when necessary, but don't forget that soap and water are just as effective and gentler on your skin.
But we need to be very mindful of not storing things in plastic. So your drinking bottle, it should be stainless steel or glass, or I have one that I travel, and it's a hard plastic, and that hard plastic doesn't have the chemicals in it. You see, estrogen in its molecular structure has a phenyl ring, and that phenyl ring unlocks the door to let the estrogen into the cell.
You've probably heard about the dangers of BPA in plastic bottles, but Barbara O'Neill argues that even BPA-free plastics aren't entirely safe. Some chemicals in plastic can leach into your drinking water, especially when exposed to heat, and may lead to hormonal imbalances or other health problems. Switching to glass or stainless steel bottles is a small change that can protect your health. It's time to move away from plastics and use safer alternatives. We've all done it, microwaving leftovers in plastic containers. But Barbara O'Neill highlights that this practice can release toxic chemicals into your food. When plastic is heated, harmful compounds can seep into what you're eating, increasing your exposure to carcinogens. Switch to glass or ceramic containers when heating food in the microwave to avoid unnecessary risks. A simple switch can make a big difference in reducing your exposure to harmful substances.
You ever notice that those air fresheners in your car give you a headache or affect your sinuses? They contain phthalates as well as versatile organic compounds. These strong scents can cause sinus issues, and those phthalates that you're breathing in are hormone disruptors. So if you're getting those sinuses and they continue to swell and they're not going down and that pressure keeps building up, get rid of those car fresheners because your body won't love you.
Air fresheners may make your home smell good, but Barbara O'Neill points out that many contain volatile organic compounds, VOCs, and other chemicals that can harm your respiratory system.
Make a product that has a smell to it, whether it is an air freshener, whether it is a scented candle, whether it is cosmetics, they are all made with these chemicals that have to be bound chemically to the product itself.
While air fresheners are convenient, they can negatively impact indoor air quality over time. There are many things we do daily that we think are safe because they're recommended by doctors or are part of our routine. But as Barbara O'Neill shows us, we need to be cautious and informed about the choices we make. From processed foods to chemicals in household products, we can unknowingly expose ourselves to things that harm our health. Take control of your health by making small, informed changes. It's never too late to start. By taking steps to avoid these everyday dangers, you can lead a healthier, more informed life. Well, that's it for today. Let us know what you think by sharing your views in the comment section below. For now, make sure that you like our video. Subscribe to the channel to get updated, and do not forget to hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Thanks for watching the video. See you at the next one. Stay healthy.